Hi Fosters, Kayla here. I wanted to do a video today in preparation for our reservation intake, but also just to help create some healthy routines for foster families and setting their foster dogs up for success. Okay, so today I'm going to do a video about resources. Okay, so resources are huge, and I think some people view resources as just food, but it can be much, much more than that. So I wanted to cover a couple things with you. Okay, so resources can be a number of things. So we'll address that. What is a resource? A resource can vary from not only food, meal times, but treats. And I'll go over where they can find those. They can vary to, like, for instance, dog beds. I have all the dog beds pulled apart and we're cleaning them today, but dog beds can be resources. You'll see my shady girl Luna up on the couches, specifically couches and beds, specifically when people are present, can be resources. Different rooms or areas like kitchens, because that's where the food is kept, can be a resource. So dogs can view a million different things as a resource that they're willing to be reactive towards, okay? Not all of them, but some do. And I just wanted to kind of go through the ways of creating a healthy environment to limit risk. That's all we can do, right? All we have to do is limit the risk as much as we can, and then we'll have less incidents, less things to worry about while our dog is getting acclimated into our home, okay? So that's what resources can be to dogs, and wanted to review a couple ways to lessen those risks with you in this video. So the number one way to lessen risks, and the reason, let's start with this too, the reason why a dog can be reactive towards resources is because they've never had them before. Similar to a toddler, again, I always kind of compare to a toddler. When a dog has access, or when a toddler has access to something really, really great that they've never had before, we're gonna throw a tantrum when we try and take it away. When parents try and take it away, especially when other kids try and take it away. Okay, so similar to that, a dog can view something as a resource that they've never had before, that they think is great, that they don't want to lose. So when we welcome dogs like strays that have never had regular meals, who can blame them for throwing a fit and being reactive when we are not vigilant and don't create those safe boundaries for them? They can be reactive, especially when they first arrive and until they know that home, but most importantly, until they know that that meal or that resource is going to be readily available to them, okay? So something I would love for fosters to do, one thing is meal times. Meal times to limit risk during that important resource should be kept in or done in a kennel. We're not free feeding dogs, and we're not feeding dogs outside of a safe space. This is going to limit risk. Could they eventually be moved to free feeding, or once they've become acclimated, or even after adoption, be sort of a open feeding situation? Absolutely. But in order to limit risk, we want to have regular feeding times in their kennel. Okay? If they don't eat all their food, that's fine. Pick it up. They can eat later in the afternoon when you give them another half an hour to eat their food during meal times. So that's one way of limiting risk. Creating boundaries. Okay, so creating boundaries is important in my house. I have areas of the home that my dogs are not allowed in. I think that that's a wonderful thing to give to a foster in order to limit risk. For instance, my dogs are not allowed in the kitchen. It's a high risk area. I'm busy, I'm moving around, got hot stuff. It's high risk for them too, right? I don't want to step on them, but most importantly, they know that's where the food is, and I don't want any scuffles over the food. Until I was really adamant about the kitchen, I specifically had a dog that I can remember one instance with. I thought we were finally getting there with resources. I was peeling potatoes. A potato peel didn't make it in the trash can, but made it on the floor, and a fight broke out. Okay, so they will view resources, view anything as food, because they've literally had to eat garbage before. Okay, the trash can be a resource. If you have a trash can full of food they can view that as a resource. You don't even have to be in the room, okay? But then specifically, talking about boundaries too, bedrooms. That if we've got a quiet, comfy space to be with their new favorite person, something like a bedroom or a bed, especially when you're in that room and in that bed with them, that can be viewed as a resource for dogs. So we want to be mindful. Am I creating boundaries? Am I setting them up for success? Okay, routines. Routines are really, really, really great. Again, similar to a toddler, they do best with routines, right? They do best with nap times. They do best with regular meal times. They do best with a bedtime, restrictions. If you let them run willy-nilly and make bad choices, they will. Toddlers, dogs, kind of similar, right? Okay, leash dragging. I always tell people, if you don't know, leash dragging is always a great way to try and keep the home safe. So we want to go ahead and make sure that we're doing that too. So another thing that I do as far as resources, other than boundaries and stuff, is I try to limit resources, especially when I first bring them in. Okay, so I will pick up these dog beds. I will walk around and pick up all my Nylabones. I don't have many treats that my dogs don't destroy, but Nylabones are one of them. And if I have them scattered all over the place, especially stray dogs will view those as a resource. So I want to pick those up until I know that my dog's acclimated. They've had time to realize that these bones are out here all the time. I have more bones than dogs available, and they don't need to be protective of that resource. Okay? Otherwise, I always say less is more with these dogs. They've never had a regular meal in their life. So if you just make sure that they have a routine feeding time, they don't need, we don't need to spoil them, okay? Just regular meal times in itself is spoiling them themselves. So they don't need tasty treats. They don't need bully sticks and big edible chews. Other than something for my dogs to regularly chew on, their treats is a handful of dog food. Or a milk bone, because my husband's a UPS driver. He always comes home with pockets full of milk bones. And that in itself, when we're careful for it, when we initially bring in a dog, if the dogs initially, when they first realize that every time that man walks in the door and he has pockets full of milk bones, if I have a dog that's reactive with food, that in itself is a great opportunity for a fight to break out. If they know that that man has pockets full of treats to give to us, they want all the treats. Okay, so we want to just be careful, mindful of that. Again, we want to do separate meal times in their kennels. We want to pick up toys. Sometimes if I've got a really hard one, I'll pick up beds. Another huge thing is my Luna and Junie are sitting on the couch. Couches are a no-no. Even they will get kicked off the couch the majority of the time. Even though they're my resident dogs, if they get grumbly, or if I think that they're not respecting a space. Now, they do really great to, Junie, literally, she only chews bones on top of Luna on the couch, which I think is great. But, so couches can be, we see reactivity on couches and emails from fosters all the time. My foster dog just attached my resident dog, and I was sitting on the couch right in between them. They viewed you as a resource. You are an amazing person. You just took them in. So again, we just want to limit those reactivity times, okay? So initially, I'm talking the first 3 weeks. No couch time, no treat or chew time unless it's in the kennel by themselves. Scheduled meal times in the kennel. And then again, limit our access to the rest of the home, and hopefully they'll have a good handle on who the dog is and what their triggers may be by then. And again, we're just lessening risk for them. All right, so let me know if you guys have any questions. I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of other stuff, but hopefully if we can kind of go by those guidelines, it'll help keep everybody in the home safe and help you with a good introduction into the home. All right, thanks, bye-bye.